They are skills and competencies that have to be taught and supported. And for some people, when they come to the school already, they are very strong. There have been a lot of exercise at home and support for this. And also there are different personalities. And nowadays also more and more disorders that have different types of difficulties to keep the self-regulation going on. So we support it in that way that we try to structure our teaching in a way that the children know what are the aims and how is it going to proceed, especially when it's a long-term study period. And so they clearly know that now here are the aims and here is the ending. Maybe it's in an hour or maybe it's in 3 weeks. It depends, of course. But they are guided how we are going. Now we are here, and again the aims were here, you remember, and maybe you have a different aim than the other one. And also many times in Finnish education it has been said that they are so autonomous and they can work everywhere, and for some people it may even look like are they really learning here when they are possibly in the corridor doing something, or some are in the classroom, so maybe they have been given some autonomy to choose the place. And of course, if the teacher knows that there is problem with a child, that okay, do you think you are able to do this task alone, or do you need a pair, or would you think that it's better to stay this time more near to the teacher to do the task? So kind of the process is supported. Respect is always an important one, and when traveling in other countries and seeing classrooms, there are different ways how we are guided the children to act towards adults and teachers. So for instance in Finland we don't use name, for instance for me, hello Mrs. Muhonen, no, I'm Sari, I'm teacher, sometimes even mom, oh sorry, you're a teacher. Of course every teacher is a person and have different methods, but let's say in overall it is something very important for the school atmosphere to be polite for everyone. And how we do it, we try to show our own example. How do we react to children? How do we react to our teacher? So I think that the question of polite behavior is one of the things that more and more is something that I think I have to do more than I had to do earlier in my career. There may be many reasons for that. So maybe that is one of the challenges. Sometimes for some children it is not self-evident to respect adult or the child. Of course, if we are talking about the teaching profession in Finland especially, so it's maybe the kind of hecticness that all these digital devices, which we also use a lot in teaching, how tempting is it for the child when they have those cell phones, the addiction for that. So when we are using, for instance, it for learning, so for a child who is not so well using self-regulation skills, it is very easy when the teacher is a little bit not looking at this direction to jump to see something else. In teaching profession, overall, one of the biggest challenges is maybe how to reframe your work, because kind of teaching work is everywhere, every day, every time, if you let it come to. Learning how to, when there are problematic situations, for instance with a classroom and parents, so how to kind of not let them affect your personal life too much. Of course you are empathic, but how to take care of yourself also, that you are energetic in the classroom and you can give the best of yourself to make the best of the children's competencies. For me, the teaching profession is very special and it feels very right and meaningful. So I have many friends who are working in other areas and sometimes tell that if they work with the computer thinking or whatever they are doing, so if it has really meaning for real. And that is something in this profession I never have to question. I know it for sure. I can see it in the pupils' eyes. And there is a lot of joy in this profession also. There are challenges too, but a lot of joy when choosing to be an educator, sparkling the interest and noticing impulses that come from the children and kind of trying to bring them forward. So that is truly meaningful, and also finding very enthusiastic yourself. So that makes this profession very meaningful for me. I think the teaching profession changes over time and has changed also a lot in Finland. If you look at the former times, also here in Finland it was most of the teacher lecturing and the people being quiet and raising their hand one at a time. It was more like going towards strict aims and testing them former days, and now it's more like building larger competencies. And for me, I think this kind of tendency is going to be also in the future. Maybe there will be new competencies that are needed more and more when we go over time. The meaning of little subject-specific things to remember, it's getting less and less. And one of the things we were talking earlier in this discussion was that learning to learn skills are something very special, and they are needed, and they need to be guided more and more. And being with others, the humanistic values, learn to structure how to learn and how to cope in the world. So I think this will be even more needed in the future.